Happy
And becoming
Saturday.
and hi, becoming Eva fans. Happy Saturday. Welcome to our episode on love and dating.
Yes, peeps. Yes. You know, it's February. It's the month of love. So we're going to talk about love all month in every phase and every season. So trust me, we're not going to leave you out. If you're married, if you're single, if you're dating, if you're not dating, if you're a man, if you're a woman, like if you just starting out, marriage, newlywed, or if you've been married a while, we're going to get you all in the mix because we talking about love all month. But of course, we got to take care of the singles. So we're going to start out this week with talking about love and dating. And this is applicable whether you're in a dating relationship or seek to be in a dating relationship, or you just as content as can be and you like, hey, I love myself and it is what it is. But we're going to cover all that today.
Yes.
So how's your week been, Toya?
My week has been great. We celebrated Mason's
Yeah.
1 year old. Well, his birthday party is today, but he turned 1 on Thursday. So we were so excited. I think that his sisters were more excited than he was. They were like, "Are we not going to school? It's his birthday." I'm like, "The party is on Saturday, guys. He'll do his smash cake on Saturday." They were like, "Where's the balloons? Where's the decorations? We don't want to go to school today. It's his birthday." I'm like, "Calm down. He's 1."
I love it. Look, anything to get out of school, I'm right there with them. I'm like, it's a holiday, we taking off. It's a, Groundhog Day, we taking off. Like, I'm right there with them. So,
How
yes,
was
that's
your week?
awesome. Oh, Mason is 1. It seems like, gosh, it seemed like he just got here, but it's amazing. He is already 1.
How was your week?
My week was good. We had to move some stuff around, got some appliances in place, things of that nature. So it's always good when you're able to kind of upgrade a little bit some stuff. But it was a full week, but not overwhelming. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, nothing really. Oh, I did record a piece for a spoken word, actually 2 spoken words earlier at the top of the week. So that was cool. It's always cool whenever I get a chance to use my gifts and just kind of express myself. So that was awesome, and catch up with some people I hadn't seen in a while. But yeah, it was a good week. Not too overwhelming, but very good. Yeah. So awesome. So shall we get into what's trending?
Yes. What's
We
trending?
got a full docket for y'all, okay? A full one, okay? So, first up, Riri, aka Rihanna. She's preggo. Woo! So, for those of you that may or may not know, singer and actually entrepreneur, like this girl is doing her thug thizzle with the Fenty line, with the Fenty lingerie line. If I'm not mistaken, I think she's officially a billionaire, but don't quote me on
Wow.
that. Either way, she got bank. All I'm saying. And so she's really over these past 5 to 10 years or so, really been focusing on entrepreneurship and just been kind of blazing a trail with that. But she has been dating rapper ASAP Rocky for a little over a year, I want to say, and they are expecting a child together. So beautiful surprise because Riri, this will be her first child. I don't know if it's ASAP Rocky's first child, but yeah, they're expecting a little one. So shout out to them.
Congratulations, Riri. I
Yes.
know a lot of people on social media were talking about her age. I'm like, my goodness, people, let her live. People are having babies like in their 50s, even. I think Janet was 50. So
Yeah.
I'm like, man, people just need to stay out of other women's uterus.
She's not. Wow. I love that line. Stay out of my uterus. I love that.
Please.
She's not old though. Like I was thinking
She's
about this stuff.
No, she's not old. She's in her 30s, but
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, her first baby at like, I don't know, like I think she's 34, 33 or
Yeah.
something like that."
As far as I'm
And that's
concerned,
not old.
yeah, to me, she did it the right way because in this industry, especially, I mean, she's focused on her career. She's, been trying to lay a foundation, especially when she first started out as a recording performing artist. I mean, she took care of business and just focused on that, which I thought was great. And then, of course, her getting into the entrepreneurship game. So I'm like, this is great. I mean, as far as timing wise, now, it's a whole nother story about ASAP Rocky and are they married? Are they planning to get married? That's a whole nother long story there. But I mean, timing wise, I'm like, girl, yeah, but you're right. And stay out of her uterus. Stay out of her uterus. That's a good one. I'm gonna keep that one. All right. And speaking of Prego, another one. Another one. The Nick Cannon announced that he has I think this is his 8th child that's on the way by yet another woman. So, and I had been trying to catch his show. Everybody's been talking about his show for the past few months now, and I couldn't figure it out. I was like, when does it come on? What channel? I would see clips on YouTube, so I was catching stuff there. But I finally caught his show this week, and I was like, what? Like, what is all the talk about? But honestly, I think people really appreciate the fact that he's vulnerable, he's transparent, and literally he addressed this whole situation head on. He was like, I know y'all talking about it, so let me get my side of the story. And, he basically was just talking about how he has known this child has been coming for a while, but he actually waited to share with the world that he was having a baby because he lost a child. I don't know if y'all remember this or not, but this was, maybe about a month ago. His 7th child, or one of his other twins, Zen, passed away. And so there was a lot of grief there. There was a lot of just uncertainty and things he had to work through, but he knew this other child was coming. And so there was a space and time where they were like, hey, let's wait to announce this baby, and then we'll deal with grief, and then we'll announce his baby, because the baby that passed was by another woman. So all that to say, he was working through that. And actually, some people know that he had announced he was on a journey of celibacy. He had announced this on his show, like I want to say probably 3 or 4 months ago. So when this baby announcement came, everybody was like, wait, now, aren't you celibate? But he said on his show, he had decided to be celibate after finding out that this 8th child was on the way. It actually was a catalyst for him saying, hey, I need to be celibate. Well, I'm like, yeah, bro, you're right. You need to chill out for a minute. So, yeah. But all that to say, like, he was really vulnerable and transparent with it. And just even the whole piece about having multiple children by multiple women. He's like, I love children. I can take care of them, which he can, and then the multiple women, he honestly put that on the women, where he was like, these women are making a decision. They know what they're getting into with me. And he's just not at a place where he wants to be married. So I guess my question for you, Toya, is like, what are your thoughts on this whole multiple children, multiple baby mama, whether you have money or not, whether you're taking care of your kids or not?
Right. My thoughts are, I don't think God intended for family to be set up that way.
Yeah.
Even though he's financially able to provide for his 8 children and baby mamas and stuff like that, there's more that you have to provide for your children besides financial, besides money. That's great and all, but with me having 4 kids, I feel like I'm inadequate, to provide everything that they need. Like, they all have these unique personalities and unique interests. And, I try to show up for almost every single thing that they have going on in their lives. I can't imagine having 8 different personalities by 8 different women, essentially 8 different families. Like, I don't even see how that's even feasible to be fully there mentally, spiritually, emotionally for all of your kids. Like,
yeah.
I just don't see it.
And that's just the kid, like, physically being their factor. But I think about, too, how it's important for a child to grow up in an environment with both their mom and their dad, not with their dad coming by or taking them out all the time. And then even the whole fact, because somebody asked him, well, do all the mothers of your children get along? And he jokingly said, well, they get along with me. And I was like, okay, but still, like, the fact of, like, it can be very easy for comparisons to kind of creep in, or comparisonitis is what I was thinking of. But, where you're starting to compare yourself to others, to your half brother or half sister or brother sister, or whatever they want to call themselves, because every environment is different. and Nick's relationship with each mother is different. So kids pick up on vibes, they pick up on tension, they pick up on anxiety, they pick up on all of that, and it's just not, in my opinion, the most stable environment for a child to grow up in, especially if you're actively choosing that environment. It's one thing, stuff happens, life happens, widows, people pass on, divorce happens even, but for you to literally willingly go into a relationship and say, hey, I'm going to raise a child in this environment and it is what it is. Like, to me, it's not very considerate of the child, because they need, like you were saying, it's God's design for them to be in that environment with both parents, where the parents are in a relationship with one another. Children, they thrive in environments where the father and mother are actively in love and prioritize their relationship even over, being a parent. Like,
Right.
that's the way God designed it. And children pick up on that stuff. So, yeah. But weigh in, because Nick, I tell you, he in these streets hard. 8 children. And I don't think they're all, because he's got 2 sets of twins. So that at least knocks out, knocks it down to 6. But I think it's 5 baby mothers, if I'm not mistaken.
That's still a lot. It's
very,
still a lot.
very. Yeah. All right. Next, we have Gavi. Okay. Now we went back and forth over whether or not we were going to talk about this, because we appeal to a broader demographic. And so some of y'all like, Gavi, who's Gavi? But we had to talk about it. Number one, because our husbands are like literally knee deep, neck deep, whatever. They have been in the CHH realm community for over a decade now. So almost 2, honestly. And so we definitely knew of the situation, and it speaks to, I feel, a broader situation that we thought would be relevant for us to talk about. So long story short, Gavi is a recording artist who was signed to Reach Records. Reach Records is a label owned by Lecrae. Most people know who Lecrae is, even if they're not familiar with Christian hip hop. I said CHH, that's what CHH stands for, Christian hip hop. But if you're not, Lecrae's a big time Christian hip hop artist, been in the game for decades. So needless to say, Gavi is a recording artist signed to Reach Records, or was signed to Reach Records, and extraordinarily talented. But long story short, I want to say a couple weeks ago, he announced that he and his wife were getting a divorce. They had been separated for the past couple of years, and they were getting a divorce. That announcement sparked a bunch of other accusations as far as him having inappropriate contact with other women, and whether or not that led to the divorce. So immediately after the accusations came out, he was dropped from his label. They released a press statement saying, basically Reach Records distancing themselves from him. And even to the fact where like more mainstream publications, like I think like Yahoo had something, Billboard had something about him being released from Reach Records. And I don't know if they go into a lot of detail regarding the allegations, but the allegations were pretty serious, as far as him basically sending inappropriate pictures to multiple women. In some cases, it may have even been a minor. And just in the age of Me Too, that's really not a good look at all. So it's really sparked a broader conversation, because real talk, whether you're in the Christian hip hop community or call yourself a Christian or not, we all have our struggles. We all deal with things. I feel like pride and lust are probably those 2 things that Christians, particularly Christian artists, may find themselves struggling with the most. And this just kind of came to the forefront in the surface regarding this particular recording artist. So I wanted to just put it out there and just ask, like, what are your thoughts on the situation?
Well, I have a few thoughts on Gavi. Well, first off, we know that he's a human being, and we know that humans are not perfect. And sometimes, as Christians, when they are in the limelight and they have fame, Christians or followers of Christ tend to put those people on a pedestal and think like they cannot make those type of mistakes in life, because you're a leader, you're a role model. So I think when you become famous or have some type of level of fame, you are held to higher standards, and you have to make wise choices. Like, it's not a wise choice, even just as a married man, human being. It's not a wise choice.
Yeah.
But it's even worse because you're on this pedestal or in this limelight and people see you and they judge you, even though I know we're not God, but they're called to a higher standard because you have many, many eyes looking at you and watching you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we know it's between God, his wife, and the other woman. And he's going to have to be held accountable for his actions and stand before God, just like everyone will have to stand before God one day and be held accountable for the things that they did or didn't do in this life.
Facts.
But, just being mindful that he is a human.
Yeah.
We're not perfect.
He is. He is a
And we
human.
can't fully judge.
You're right. We can't. I mean, yeah. I will say this. You're absolutely right. We're humans. We all have our own struggles. When you're on a platform, the standards are a bit higher. It doesn't mean that you're perfect, nor does it mean you cannot make mistakes. I will say in this scenario in particular, and these are all allegations, it was said that he was addressed several times regarding, inappropriate, behavior, and did not adjust. And I will just say, as a Christian, it's very important to have people around you that you're willing to be accountable to. And I emphasize the word willing because all day long we can have people around us that may even ask us hard questions. But if we're not willing to make ourselves accountable to them, then nothing's going to change. Our actions won't change. Our heart won't change. Our behaviors will not change. And I think accountability has become kind of one of those ugly words. It's right up there with submission for the women, where it's like, ooh, don't say that. But that is what God requires. And sadly, I think some people shy away from it because it may have been abused or misused in the past, but it doesn't negate God's original intent for that. We're not meant to walk this life alone, and that's in the good times, the bad times, the hard times, the times of celebration, and the times of correction. And so it's important for all of us to have someone in our lives that we're willing to be held accountable by. And I think that was kind of one of the glaring, if you will, flaws that was kind of exposed during this time. And so, I mean, I just want to challenge all of us as Christians. If you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a follower of Christ, to make sure that you have people in your life that you're willing to be held accountable by. I was always told, always have somebody in your life that can tell you no. And, even as an adult, like have somebody in your life that can tell you no, and you'll be like, okay, I'm going to follow suit. And it doesn't mean that, you got somebody, bossing you around or telling you what to do. But when you bring things to them and you value their opinion enough, if they're saying, I don't think that's a good look, it should at least make you think twice about it instead of being like, yeah, thanks, but I'm going to do me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think because we're legally adults, we think, oh, we don't need that. And we do. We do. We all do.
We do.
So
we all need accountability.
Absolutely. So anything else you want to share on the Gavi piece? I know we could talk forever about that, and probably, we'll see how this all unfolds because it's an ever evolving situation. But I will say pray for that brother, like for real. I was just I think I was talking with Chris, like as long as there's breath in our bodies, like God, there's an opportunity for God to change us. There's an opportunity for God to bring us to a place of repentance. There's an opportunity for, if a person doesn't know Christ, for them to be saved. So prayers are not obsolete. Like pray for the brother, for real.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for what's trending before we dive into today's topic of discussion?
Okay. Did you want to talk about Nicki Minaj?
Oh, yes.
And
you know
Kevin
what? Let's go ahead.
Samuels?
Let's jump, because that's actually going to take us into our topic of discussion. So, and this happened this week. Our girl Nicki, or I should say your girl. I don't know whose girl she is.
Not mine.
She's somebody's girl. But
Not I.
she actually went on IG Live with Kevin Samuels, and she said this was something she had been wanting to do for a while. Kevin Samuels, you may or may not know, he has been, causing a lot of conversation. I would say probably over the last year in particular, because he has some really cutthroat videos, if you will, where he has single women and single men calling in to get his advice or feedback as it relates to dating and marriage and so needless to say, Nikki was like, well, I want to talk to this brother. So she pins him on IG Live, and the first thing out of her mouth is, how would you rate me? I was like, oh my lord. Oh my lord. But apparently this is something he really does. Like, he does this all the time, rating people, on how they look, on what their financial status is, what their career status is. And so they had a very interesting conversation. And I liked that it touched on a lot of different things. They talked about Black women. They talked about interracial dating, relationships between Black men and Black women and how they perceive one another, because I think he's been accused of not supporting Black women, when in fact he's like, no, I support Black women. I want them to be in more healthier relationships. And so I think that's his angle, I guess, as far as challenging them. But they had a really interesting conversation. And I was surprised that Nikki wanted to talk to him, especially since, she's married, she's got her baby. I'm like, girl, live your life. Why are you fooling with this brother? But they had a very interesting conversation. I don't know if you got a chance to see or hear any clips from the video, but did you have any thoughts on that conversation and the combo, if you will, between Nikki and Kevin?
No, I did not get a chance to hear the entire conversation. But I am curious to know how he rated her.
I will tell you. So he rated, well, first he said, how would you rate yourself? And then he said, and then he rated her. So she rated herself a 7. And he said, honestly, a lot of people, that's the most common rating that people give themselves, because it's not too high, but it's not too low. So you can kind of, you're right there in the middle, you don't feel a little crazy. But yeah. And he actually rated her a 9. And he said, her face, the symmetry of her face. He's like, because he is not, although he now is considered like a relationship consultant, his 9 to 5 is not that. He actually is like branding, marketing, consulting, that realm. So he's big on visuals just in general. And so he was like, when it comes to beauty, just historically and from a scientific aspect, people assess beauty by how symmetric your face is. So like if there was a line right down the middle of your face, is there symmetry on the right and on the left? And with her, there definitely was. And then he was like, and then the Asian eyes, because you're not Asian, kind of add an even extra, exoticness, if you will, to the face. And then he also, I was like, God, Kevin, because he be getting into business. He was like, what size are you? I was like, oh Lord. And even Nikki
What
had to be,
size?
yes, girl. Even Nikki had to like swallow hard and be like, oh, I'm about to tell you, But
he, size?
Yes,
or
girl.
Dress size?
All of that.
Oh, okay.
All of that. He's like, what size? I've even heard him ask men, like, how much do you weigh? He may have even asked it to women, but he takes all of that into consideration. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, all of that is why he rated her a 9, if you will. So if you want to check out the conversations, about a 15-minute dialogue, like I said, they kind of touch on everything. It is explicit because Nikki is Nikki. So she going to have those rants when she just dropping 4-letter words, but it's an interesting conversation as far as the dynamics between men and women, particularly Black men and Black women. So, yeah. All right, so we're going to dive into today's topic of discussion, and Kevin Samuels is the perfect segue for that, because just as everybody was watching his videos and him consulting single women and single men, there's this whole term of high value that kept coming up. What is a high value man? What is a high value woman? Are you a high value man? Are you a high value woman? And so we came across a lot of different definitions as far as what high value means. So we're going to get into that. And first, we're going to talk about the high value man. Okay. So there was a particular video that Kevin Samuels did on the high value man, traits of a high value man. And I was like, well, let me just watch this. Let me just see what's what, you know. And so I have a couple of those traits down, and we're gonna weigh in on them. We're gonna talk about them. Uh, the first one, because he immediately goes financial, is that a high value man has a six-figure salary, makes at least $10,000 a month consistently. So I was like, okay. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's great and all. I mean it's nice. It would be nice,
Yes,
a
yes,
six-figure salary. Um, but to me, I don't know if that would be like number 1.
exactly.
Not for me. That's not number 1. I don't think how much money you bring into the household determines how valuable you are.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I
Agreed.
mean, money is nice because for we've got 4 kids, they've got a bunch of needs, financial needs and stuff. But six-figure salary, I wouldn't say, oh, if you're not making six figures, you're not as valuable.
Agreed. And if you are making six figures,
That's
like
great.
what are you doing with it? Like how are you spending it? Because there are a lot of things that he may value that I don't value. Like, what are you spending it on? Do you know how to budget? Do you know how to invest? Are you saving? Like, or are you just driving around in the hottest car or with the nicest
And
phone or the best
living
shoes?
in the penthouse.
Exactly. Because I'm like, that money could be put to a lot more better uses. So to me, the money, like you said, would be great, but there are a lot of other things to factor in there. Um,
Right.
and his number two trait was actually right in line with that, where it was like not, and he kept re-emphasizing that these are not his definitions as much as society's, but it is a lot of what he uses to address these single men that he's talking to. Okay. So the second trait was right in line with that, whereas not only are you making at least a six-figure salary each year, but you're doing it consistently, meaning you've done it at least over the last 3 to 5 years. It's not a fluke where you won the lottery and or you had a great year and that was it, but like consistently this is what you're doing. So that was number two. And then number three, acceptance by other high value men. So now he starts going into status, meaning do you know and are you accepted or appreciated, I should say, by other high value men? Do you have a tribe, a circle of high value men? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it is important to consider like the company that you keep.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that all your friends have to be making six figures or all of that stuff. But I
Mm-hmm.
definitely think the company that you keep is very important. But I don't necessarily say it's based off of his definition of a high value man.
Yeah. Agreed. I would say having a circle of people around you that are like minded, I think is good. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with having someone that you're willing to be held accountable by, even. So I think in that aspect is good, but we're gonna get into our definition of high value. But I'll say the whole tribe mentality, the whole circle mentality, I think I can understand that. So all right, number four, networking with other either high value men or just people in general. They network. What are your thoughts on networking?
I think that's a good quality to have, being able to network with other people,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily his definition of the high value man, but
Mm-hmm.
being able to talk, communicate to other people and network. Yes, I think that's a great quality to have.
Yeah, I like the networking aspect. I will say for me, it's a challenge. It's still the word networking to me feels very intimidating. So I usually have to kind of reframe it in my mind, just to try to get to know people and find common ground and to try to be as personable as possible. I think oftentimes, like, mentally what comes to mind when I hear the word network is I think of, okay, people kissing up to one another in order to get something. Real talk. And I'm like, I don't want to do that and I don't want to be a part of that. But I will say there is an actual benefit to just taking time to genuinely, and I'll emphasize the word genuinely, get to know other people. Like, that's just a beautiful thing in and of itself. And then the networking aspect of it comes not when you're looking at what you can get from someone, but really what you can give to someone else, how you can support them, how you can help them grow.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. But any thoughts on networking?
Oh, that was it for my thoughts.
Yeah. I'm like, I get it. I get it. But we're going to get into our definition of high value. All right. And then the fifth trait was visibility. So again, this kind of goes back to the status piece. And he was really talking about LinkedIn. Like, basically, do you have a LinkedIn profile? Number one. And number two, does your LinkedIn profile highlight your position and, basically how much you make? And I was like, how do you highlight how much you make on LinkedIn? But I guess certain titles or certain positions already kind of give the impression that you make a certain amount. So, but visibility, basically making your status known to others. What are your thoughts?
I think LinkedIn is a little dated. I think I had a LinkedIn account. I don't remember my password. It's been so long since I've been on it. It's a little outdated for me. Now, I know some people, still use it to network and stuff like that. But visibility could mean like what our husbands do for track stars, like
Mm-hmm.
being visible in some form or fashion
Mm-hmm.
um, to the world,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily like highlighting, oh, this is how much I make and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. Like, yeah,
I'm
why?
curious, when you were talking about LinkedIn, what do you use when you're like trying to research other jobs or make connections? Like, what do you use, or how do you do it?
Um, when I'm oh, I did use LinkedIn at first when I was looking to work with the company that I'm currently with right now. I
Mm-hmm.
did use that for that, but that was about it, I guess. Just like
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I got you. No, I
it
was
was
just
brief.
curious.
I don't keep up with it. Like I don't.
I
I'll
don't
look at
either.
the notifications.
Yeah, no, they got an old account that I don't really look at for them notifications because I would be going crazy. I got you though. I got you. Okay, cool, cool. And then the sixth and final characteristic of a high value man is utility. They are useful to others and the group. What are your thoughts?
Useful to others and the group.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that goes back to what they do in life and in the world and how they
Mm-hmm.
give back to people. And the group, is he talking about his high value group?
I would say so, yes. But then I'm also thinking about just the community at large, you know?
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean, I would love to, be like I could see the guy that, is able to make a call and get something done. Like, I could see that. So I could see that. But useful, I mean, it could reflect so many different things. So, I mean, from the guy who can, fix things around the house, like, that's huge. That's a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah.
The guy that can, help you get things done for your latest project that you're working on, or give you a great idea for how to do XYZ. So, I think useful can look a lot of different ways, but I do like the fact that they're useful. Like, you want someone that's going to add to you instead of just sink, pull, and suck life out of you. So, yeah.
Right. 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 Right.
Okay, so let's get into our definition. First of all, let's talk about the word value. Of course, Kevin Samuels was coming from more of a consumer definition or an economic definition where, if you look at the market, whatever is of high value is in high demand. So he's thinking about, demand, supply and demand, and so I can get that. I get that from an economic stance, but from life in general, and even from like a Christian stance, like, value means so much more. Value is something that adds worth. It's something that appreciates. It's something that is in demand, but it's also something that is substantial. Not just temporal in the natural, but also eternally, and So I would say, how will we define value?
Um, I think for defining value, um, some of his aspects that Kevin Samuels used, I can kind of see, but I think
Mm-hmm.
value when I think about a valuable man, I think about for me, I look at what God says a
Mm-hmm.
godly man is.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't put money, definitely not money at the top of the list, but you do need to be a good provider
Yeah.
some type of way. But at the top of my list, I would definitely say a man after God's own heart. So
Mm-hmm.
someone that is a follower of Christ, that has a relationship with Him, someone that does take care of his family
Mm-hmm.
financially, provides a roof over their house. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be making a six-figure income,
Mm-hmm.
but being a good provider, um, being able to show up for you mentally and emotionally, being able to pray for you, a
Mm-hmm.
man that can pray over your life, over your children's lives, and over just anything. Just
Yeah.
someone that knows how to pray, someone that is edifying the kingdom of God, finding ways to build up the kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
what our husbands do with track stars. So those are some things that I would say is valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say all those things. I think the one thing that was sticking out to me that I would add is someone who has a plan and a purpose. That's a big deal to me. Like, you can't follow a parked car, nor can God steer a parked car. So it
Right.
doesn't mean that they have to have it all figured out, but it does mean that they are putting one foot in front of the other, and they are, moving in a direction where they're trying to clarify and define, what does God have for me. Now, I will say, because I'm just a firm believer that, especially if you're talking about marriage, that a large reason behind marriage is purpose, because you're basically joining with someone to accomplish something that you cannot do on your own. So I believe it does help to be fairly solid in what your purpose is when you're dating, especially when you're dating for marriage. But if you're still trying to get some clarity on that, at least you're taking some steps actively. And when I say taking steps actively, I mean you're trying different things out. So you're serving in ministry to figure out, okay, where's a good fit here, or where's a good fit there. You may have a mentor from, as it relates to your career, to really figure out, okay, what's the best role here? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? You're basically taking steps to clarify your purpose if you don't already have a
Yeah.
good idea of what it is. So I would say having a plan and a purpose are really big for me too. So I would definitely add
Yeah.
that to that list. Yeah. Anything else we want to talk about for how we would define a high value man?
Oh, I think we covered all of them.
Yeah. And I will say this. If you took our definition of a high value man for number one, and then took that definition and kind of walked it through five, six, and seven, or I think it was four, five, and six, the other traits that we were talking about from Kevin Samuels, I think you could be in a good place. Because really, for me, the only thing that I had a problem with Kevin Samuels is that he only focused on the financial. I'm like, okay,
Right.
I know plenty of rich jerks. I don't want that. What in the world? So really honing in on what your definition of high value is, and then based on that, looking at, okay, are they consistent? Because that's important. Do they have a close-knit circle of people around them? That's important. Are they useful to others? Do they serve others? That's important. Do they have a community of people that they support and that support them? So really looking at those other traits through that lens that we just gave you, I think will definitely help. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. High value man. So let's move on to the high value woman. Okay, okay. And of course, near and dear to our hearts because we're women, and that's what becoming Eva is really about. It's really about equipping and supporting high value women, and really thinking about just the whole reason behind why the show is called Becoming Eva. We really honed in on a Proverbs 31 woman and what does that look like in today's day and time. So I consider a Proverbs 31 woman a high value woman. But how would you define a high value woman?
Yes. So I've been thinking about that this entire week. I think the Bible is very specific on
Mm-hmm.
what a high value woman is. That whole
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs 31. I know it talks about a wife, like he who finds a wife of noble character, but I think that whole chapter is not just about a wife. It's about what a high value woman is. Even
Yeah.
before you become a wife, I think you have to already kind of have those attributes and characteristics that it talks about in that chapter. Like I believe it first starts talking about like how she works
Mhm.
eager with her hands. So uh, a high value woman is definitely a hard worker for sure. Someone who's not afraid to stay up late, get up early if you have to. Even in that chapter, I think there's a scripture in that chapter that talks about like being up when her family is sleeping still just to like get work done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so all of that to me is like a hard worker, a person or a woman that's not afraid to lose a couple hours of sleep just to like get stuff done. Um Also talking about she considers a field and buys it out of her earnings, and she plants a vineyard with it. So a woman who knows how to make money, invest her money, and perhaps be business minded. So not necessarily a wife, but just a woman that knows how to manage her money. And then also it talks about she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. So a woman who knows how to serve others, volunteers her time. And then I know in that chapter it talks about how she speaks with wisdom, and
Yes.
faithful instruction is on her tongue. So that to me is just a wise woman who knows how to wisely use her words.
Absolutely. And that right there is a lot. I could park on wisely using her words for a minute because we're good with our words, ladies. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. We can talk that talk and, break stuff down and put people in their place. Like, we are great with our words, but I don't think we're always wise with our words. And I will say this as a woman who's married, or if you're a woman who is either in a relationship or seeking to be in a relationship, we have to be wise with our words because our words are powerful. And especially when you're talking with the opposite sex or engaging the opposite sex, really paying attention to your tone, really paying attention even to timing because it may not be the best time to say what needs to be said, or in some cases God may be like, I'm gonna need you to talk to me about that. I don't need you to talk to him about that. I need you to talk to me about that. So really being wise with our words, I think, is very, very important. And I'm even gonna go even further and say, especially as Black women, we need to be wise with our words because you know how we get. We put that extra attitude in there because we're passionate. We're not angry. We're passionate. We're not aggressive. We're passionate. I'm just saying. But we put that extra in there, to get our point across. And
Right.
we have to be mindful and wise with how we express ourselves because
Yes.
it can come off as being very disrespectful to your partner. If you're married to your spouse, if you're dating to your boyfriend, it can come off as being disrespectful. And one of the things, really, I want to say one of the primary things that men desire is respect, like respect. And so
Yes.
really being mindful and wise with our words, not just what we say, but how we say it. And I'm going to say, take it a step further and say, even when we say it. So yeah, words are huge.
And your hubby is in the chat talking about, I'm gonna remember this, Maya.
I know, babe. I know. I know. I know. I'm learning. I'm learning. Just like y'all, I'm learning. So yes, he'll be there to remind me. He will be. Yes.
He'll be like, remember what you said
Exactly.
on
Exactly.
February 5th. I'm
Because
gonna tell
y'all know I'm a
Uber.
feisty one. I'm a feisty one. And I had to reel it on back in. Reel it on back. So yes. Yes. Anything else you want to share or be the high value woman, Toya?
I think we pretty much summarized everything.
Let me say I have a
Adrian
couple.
says,
Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. I'm
No,
looking
go
at the
ahead.
chat. Adrian says that God is still working on her too.
Facts, Adrian. Facts. We all works in progress. That's why we here. We working through this stuff together, y'all. For real.
Right.
We are not the experts. We just willing to put ourselves out there and kind of corral people to say, hey, let's try to move in this direction.
Yes.
So, but I do have a couple of questions that I just want to ask the women that may be listening that either consider themselves a high value woman or are striving to be a high value woman. Because I was watching a video on some traits of high value women, and it really, they were great traits, really gave me some stuff to think about. So I will ask, are you confident? I consider that definitely a trait of high value women. Oftentimes, I think we're so busy looking at, how what society deems as beautiful or popular or even high value for that matter. But if we're not confident in who we are and who God created us to be, then that automatically takes us out the game. I always tell people, rock what you got because confidence is attractive. So, are you confident? And if you're not, how can you grow in your confidence? What are some steps you can take to grow in your confidence? I would recommend definitely reprogramming yourself with the word of God. If you have to cut off some other areas that may be feeding you, if it's social media, if it's just media in general, if it's people, that may be around you, but whatever may be negatively influencing you, if you have to cut yourself off from that and reprogram yourself with the word of God to remind yourself that you're fearfully and wonderfully made, to remind yourself that you're God's workmanship, that you're his masterpiece, whatever it takes to reprogram yourself, I would do that because you have to be confident in who you are and who God created you to be before anyone could be attracted to you. Bottom line.
That's true. I agree. Confidence is big.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question I would ask is, are you open to growing and learning? Meaning, do you feel like you've arrived and you just it and there's nothing else for you to, glean? You perfect, you all seeing, you all knowing. That's the Lord, first of all. But second of all, like it's attractive when you are constantly trying to find ways to grow and learn and develop. If you're looking at ways to stimulate yourself intellectually, educationally, physically, emotionally. If you're just constantly looking at ways to become your best self, that's a great, great trait.
Yes. One of the questions that was posed in our group chat this week was, should a woman be waiting or looking around for their future husband?
Oh, that's a good one, especially in this day and age, in the age of 2021. So, or 2022. Oh my gosh, we're in a new year. I keep forgetting. Okay. But I would say, I mean, some people are just straight old school because the Bible says clearly, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And so I definitely believe that you should be found by your husband and not you finding your husband. But that can look a little different for certain people. So I will say, I don't think there's anything wrong with making sure that someone you're interested in knows that you're interested or that you're available. But I think there are ways you can do that. Like when it talks about he who finds a wife, And this is just Maya talking. You're gonna have to get confirmation from the Holy Spirit on this one, okay? This is just Maya talking, but I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of putting yourself in that person's pathway to be found if you are interested. But if you got to go all out of your way, I'm not saying like, he taking a class, I'm taking a class. He work at this place, I'm
No
working at this place.
stalking. No
Yes,
stalking.
that's illegal. We don't want that. But I'm saying, I'll use myself as an example. A prime, when I knew, okay, God was like, hey, it's okay for you to start dating and to start engaging the opposite sex in a healthy way. Because that was my biggest challenge, just engaging the opposite sex. I think for so long I had this sign on my forehead that was like, don't mess with me. Y'all know what sign I'm talking about. Y'all know what sign I'm talking about. Well, you could be walking down the street and it's written all over your face. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. You know what sign I'm talking about. I think it's okay to take that sign down. What does that mean? It means softening your face a little bit and actually looking pleasant and smiling when you're walking down the street or when you're standing in the elevator. And I know we in the age of COVID, so it's all in the eyes. If you got to raise them eyebrows or smize, in the words of Tyra Banks, then but I think it starts with looking pleasant, honestly, because I think so many times we are afraid of either, being in an unhealthy relationship or attracting the wrong person, that we just kind of shut everything down. And it's okay to look open, like, hey, I'm open to speaking and having a conversation with you. It doesn't mean you're trying to go on a date, doesn't mean they're your husband. It just means, hey, I'm open to at least saying hi or starting a conversation with you. I think that's a good place to start. But I would not, this is just me again, I would not be like, hey, want to go out this weekend? Now, some people may say something different. So what are your thoughts, Toya?
I definitely think it's okay to be open. In the words of society, don't be thirsty though. Don't be one of
That.
those women. Don't be one of those women looking at acting too thirsty. But it
Mm-hmm.
is okay to, like you said, be pleasant, appear to be friendly and soften. And you can, if you're not interested, you can always give them a hard pass, and then you can kind of shift your softer side back to hardcore or whatever. But you don't want to always have that external look on your face that you're like not interested. Like you have to
Exactly.
soften and be open to talk to other people.
Facts.
But
Facts.
yeah, don't stalk their social media accounts, and
Mm-hmm. Please.
don't overly insert yourselves into their lives.
Please. And there are two things I'll add to that. First thing is, and this is a part of putting your grown woman on, getting your grown woman on. Like, if you're not interested, just politely say you're not interested. Like, we don't have to play games. We don't have to beat around the bush. Like, if you're not interested, just say, "Hey, thanks. I'm really flattered, but I'm not interested in dating right now, or in starting in a relationship or going any further with you or whatever." Like, but just be honest. But I will say, on the whole, chasing a man versus a woman chasing you, I'm really hesitant to say that's okay. Here's why: because how you start a relationship is how you're going to have to maintain it. And so if you start the relationship chasing after the man, you're going to always be chasing after the man. Like, that's why I'm like never been a fan of these women proposing to the man, because I'm like, okay, does he want to marry you? Like, just real talk, because marriage is, it's, if you in it for the long haul, it's a marathon. And how that relationship is maintained, what you start, you're gonna have to maintain. Like, you're gonna have to keep doing. And that's not what God intended. That's not something that we as women were meant to do, a mantle we were meant to carry in a relationship. So just be
Right.
mindful of that, because you don't want to start something that you can't maintain.
I definitely think I'm kind of old school on that too. Like I'm not getting on my knee and asking, proposing to you.
No, sir. No, sir. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. All right. Any other questions we got?
um, we had another question in our group chat about What is some advice to look out for during online dating? What is some advice, I guess?
Mm, that's good. That's a tough one for me. I never really did a lot of online dating. Did you do any online dating, Toya?
I did not do any online dating, but if I did,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Come on,
I
come on.
think for me, I would definitely have to like see, hear, at least like some type of real interaction on like a Zoom or a FaceTime. Like we're not just gonna be chatting because I could be chatting to, whoever. You
Yeah,
could be pretending to be you got a fake profile picture and pretending to be somebody else.
facts.
So just I don't know. You need to have some type of verification that you are who you say you are. I think when you are online dating, so just be very cautious because there's a lot of catfishing that
Mm-hmm.
goes on during online dating. But I know it does work out for
Yeah.
some people. So
Yeah, I know plenty of people that have gotten married and met online. So it definitely works out or can work out. But to your point, I mean, that's huge. Catfishing is huge for a variety of reasons. So I would say fairly early on, if you're starting a conversation with someone that you're interested in, set up a Zoom date, FaceTime with them and be mindful because if they keep coming up with excuses, that's a red flag.
yeah.
That's a red flag. That's all I'm going to say. Anything else? Any other questions we got?
Oh, that's it. How are you doing on your black dress challenge so far?
I'm feeling pretty good. I am steadily losing weight. Now, it is not the amount that I would like to lose each week, but it's going down instead of up. So I'm glad about that. I'm glad about that. And just, yeah, really trying to stay the course. I feel like we've gotten some great tools over the past couple of weeks, as far as diet and exercise are concerned. And I've just really been trying to look at what are some things that I can incorporate in my day to day life that I can do consistently. Cause I'm real good for like, oh, all right, I'm going to eat
Mhm.
like lettuce all week. And, then the week is over and I'm like, where's the pizza? Where the wings? And it's like, let's figure out a happy medium where you can commit to doing salads more often so that you're not going crazy after the fact. So, but yeah, it's going well. So I'm just excited about like maintaining and really
Yeah.
excited about being consistent. That's been my prayer for 2022, being consistent.
Yes.
Yeah. How
Same.
about you?
Yeah, the scale is going down and I'm noticing changes like, in my body. It's not going the weight is not going down as fast as I would like, but it is going down, so I am happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been consistently working out about maybe 5 times every week and drinking my water and making diet changes as
Mm-hmm.
well. Something that's sustainable because I have lost weight before in the past, and the diet was not sustainable. Like I lost all the weight, and then I was like, "Woo, now it's over. I can eat it." But I'm making diet changes that hopefully will be sustainable long term.
Very
So
good. Very good. So I will say, because we were talking a little bit about what should this week's dress challenge be, and I think we talked about how to be attractive. And so I would hone in on maybe one of those traits, and this is whether you're a man or a woman, but how hone in on one of those traits that you may, be struggling in or be like, hey, I need to work on that. And figure out, okay, what are some steps I can do to really hone in on this trait and cultivate it in my life, because all of the traits that we talked about are going to make you attractive in that black dress. Granted, it's going to be more so from the inside out versus the outside, but it's still like what we were talking about for the women, like confidence is very attractive. So if that's a trait that you find yourself struggling in, what are some steps you can take to really cultivate that? So
right,
just using that as an example, because not only do we want to fit in our black dress, but we want to be attractive in our black dress. So that would
right.
be, I would say, a good black dress challenge for this week.
Yes. Well, becoming Eva fans, thank you guys so much for listening and joining us on our show. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Becoming Eva Today. And we'll see you guys next
See
week.
you soon.